Johnson. I'm an art director at Epic Games. I'm here with Kevin Lanning, who's character art lead at Epic, and Mike Kime and Mark Morgan, who are both senior character artists at Epic. Speaking of Epic, we've been around for over 20 years now, making games and also the technology that we and lots of other people use to make their games and related products. We're the guys who make Unreal Engine. So Unreal Engine 4, you may have seen our most recent GDC real-time Infiltrator demo that just came out this year. That was us, and of course a whole bunch of other amazingly talented folks at Epic contributed to that. That's a lot of us who are speaking here today worked on that. And Epic itself is responsible for a lot of kind of popular game franchises that you might be familiar with in this day and age. Games like Unreal, Unreal Tournament, Gears of War, Infinity Blade, and so on. When you get right down to kind of the nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty of like how we really evolve our process, it comes down to two main concepts. The first one is people, right? And people and process are like the two drivers that we focus in on, and we just alternate enhancing them back and forth. We take hiring really seriously at Epic. It's something that we, sorry about my earpiece here, it keeps falling off. We take hiring really seriously. It's one of those things that you get the right people on the bus, and then you figure out where the bus is going. And it's something that we front load our entire effort on the hiring process. We try to make as much clarity and information about who we're bringing on as possible, and make really great choices about who actually comes in the door. If you look at an institution like Harvard, the vaunted institution for instance, their hiring rate from, hey, I really want to attend Harvard University, all the way to, okay, great, here's some books, that's about 5.9%. An institution like the CIA, for example, exclusive institution, about 2% of the people who say, I want to work at the CIA actually get a desk, right? So about 2 out of 100. Epic's number is 0.2%. So 2 out of 1,000 people that go through our process actually get a chair and a Wacom pen. So we're extremely picky, we focus on that a lot. And also our average industry tenure at Epic is over 12 years now, or actually maybe just a hair under. So your average employee at Epic has 12 years of industry experience, which is a really high number. So when you look at this image here, this represents all the way back from maybe like 2004 territory. These are the projects that have involved ZBrush at Epic. And there's been more tangential projects as well, but these are the main core that have we've started using ZBrush in our pipeline. And when we talk about the process, when we talk about how to get stronger and better and faster, there's two buckets we can either fill up or we can take away from. There's the quality bucket, right, which is something that we're known for. We try to push real-time rendering to its absolute maximum. We try to get our models with the craziest amount of detail, the sickest rendering quality, the highest visuals. We know that that's what makes Epic Epic. That's part of our company culture. We have to push that bar or we're dying, right? And if you look at this, this is a screen grab from our real-time GDC Infiltrator demonstration, Unreal Engine 4. This kind of bar, us trying to push what's possible in real time, is not going away, right? It's infecting its way out, not contracting, right? This bar that we're holding ourselves to say, is this even possible, is going to explode, right, into the industry. And so where does that leave us? That leaves us with only one knob really to fiddle with, which is the efficiency conversation. Right? How do we get and hit that bar, which is just rising more rapidly than we can even understand, at a more efficient, effective rate? And as you can see here, it's almost absurd when you analyze our pipeline and our processes. In almost every single category where we've seen marked half or quartering of the amount of time it takes us to do something, it's due to ZBrush. And so that's why we're here. That's why we volunteered to come and do this, was because that's an unprecedented way for us to make better results and save money. That's why we agreed to do this, right? Because ZBrush has had more influence on our pipeline than any other aspect of kind of technology that's come forward. The idea that we had to wrap our head around was that AAA, the idea of just this maximum quality bar in all avenues, isn't going away. We've got the advent of mobile and tablets and streaming boxes and next generation consoles, high-end PC, and all these other things, that bar that we've been holding ourselves to for the best of the best, as we look at those devices, it's not going to wither and die, right? It's going to propagate out through that. And that knob, that quality to effort ratio that we talk about and want to try to tweak and make better, it's more relevant than it ever has been as we look towards, okay, 5 years from now, is it sustainable? Can we actually make the art that we want to make at a pace that's fast enough and to a quality bar that's high enough? And then the other big idea that has us here today, and the reason we want to talk to you, is because techniques that in the past have only been used for offline rendering, when you're talking about movies that are rendered at hours and hours or days per frame, these really crazy things. With the advent of Unreal Engine 4 and this next generation of game technology and the next generation consoles, for the very first time, those same exact concepts that people would use to build the content for those types of applications are 100% directly relevant to working in real time. You might make a coarser approximation of those things at 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second, but it's the same techniques. And ZBrush is the bridge software that understands that we have to be able to create that art and that content that can be 200 million polygons or whatever it is, something that can sustain the highest of the high end. And ZBrush says, oh, and I understand that you might want to use it at 60 frames a second. And ZBrush is really representative of the only type of kind of bridge software that says, I understand both of those and connect them, because that's the future of our industry, and certainly the future of how real-time technology is marching forward. So what we're going to talk about today, Kevin's going to go through kind of the history of our use of ZBrush through the ages. Got some really, really cool images from back in the day, pre-ZBrush, all the way through Gears of War series, and also their Infiltrator demo in Fortnite. And then Mark and Mike are going to come up and just get hands-on, get nitty-gritty, real-time, show you some sculpting tools, tricks, techniques, and hopefully make you a better artist. So I won't waste too much more of your time and pass it over to those guys.
So that's what I was saying. My name is Kevin Lanning. I'm lead character artist over at Epic Games. I've been at Epic for about 10 years now. Working for the Heroes of War franchise, all the way up to our latest Unreal Engine 4 Infiltrator demo. And what I wanted to talk to you guys today about was the history of our character pipeline and how ZBrush has influenced and continues to influence it. So just a brief history. Back in 2002, we began working on what was our next-gen technology back then, Unreal Engine 3. And that introduced the need for high-poly modeling in our Epic pipeline for one sole purpose, which is normal maps. The foundation of our pipeline hasn't really changed over the years. The workflow is essentially the same. We're building our high polys, we're building our low polys over that, and then we're unwrapping that, extracting our normal maps, painting additional textures, and then bringing all those assets back into Unreal. So what has changed over the years is how we build those assets, the speed in which we build those assets, and the quality of those assets. And all of these changes have been driven by the tools we use to create those assets, which is ZBrush. So prior to integrating ZBrush into our pipeline, we pretty much used 3D Studio Max to model everything, DPP to unwrap, Photoshop to texture, and then brought all that stuff back into Unreal. This is some early sub-D modeling. Back then we were basically sculpting everything in vert by vert, pushing and pulling every single detail, wrinkle, ding, etc. Us being not only a game developer, but we also license engines for other game studios, we wanted to showcase the engine as much as possible, so we wanted to pump in as much details as possible as we could to show it off. And here's this Berserker game. The downside of that was it took us about 3 months to model each character. So it was kind of hard to actually make a game that way, right? So the longer we wanted to go with the creatures, the longer it would take to build those characters. So back in 2004, we introduced ZBrush into our pipeline working on Gears of War 1. One of the first characters that we dabbled with on this for this application was Marcus Phoenix. This is a concept done by James Hawkins. And the first initial test was primarily organics. We messed with the face, the bandana, the cloth. We got pretty good results. We're happy with it. So we wanted to push it a little further. And we went with this Corpser concept from Gears of War 1, which is guys about the size of a building, just to see how far we could push it. Here's the model fleshed out in 3 Studio Max that we broke up into individual files based on the size. We brought those pieces into ZBrush. So here's our second test. This is back in 2004, 2005, of the Corpser. So as you can see, we were getting the detail that we wanted. We bring everything back into 3 Studio Max and compose it together to build our high poly armor over and build our low poly on. And here it is in game in Unreal Engine 3. So our pipeline shifted. It wasn't solely Max for our modeling pipeline. It was Max and ZBrush and Polygon Cruncher to pump out the optimizers meshes. And the awesome thing about it was after integrating ZBrush into our pipeline, our asset creation time got cut in half from 3 months to about a month and a half. Here's some more assets that we ran through the pipeline for Gears of War 1. And here's an image of Theron Guard on your left in game Unreal Engine 3, just to showcase how much detail we were able to extract from the neural map and show off in our engine. In 2006, ZBrush had pretty much become a staple of our character pipeline. I'm working on Gears of War 2. We saw that we used ZBrush more and more, especially with the releases that Pixelogic constantly pumps out. We spent more and more time in ZBrush and we're becoming way more efficient. Here's a couple turntables of some Gears of War 2 models. This is the Cantus. The environment model was done by Kevin Johnstone. But pretty much every aspect of this character was decked out in ZBrush. Here's another one, the Scourge from Gears 2. As well as the Sire from the Mark Morgan model. And actually started using transpose masters for posing stuff up. This is Dizzy. It's a model done by Stan Cottle. So Dizzy's unique in the fact that he was the first character that we brought through ZBrush for our texturing pipeline. And here he is in game. We also started using ZBrush on our animation side too, to help aid in some of the neural blends and facial animation. What we do is we pose up the character, we would sculpt in the proper details, the crow's feet, the jugular, the veins, etc. And then we blend those in on animation in game. On the far left, you have the head in game with nothing turned on. On the far right, we have everyone's turned on. As you can see, in the middle version, we have the jugular vein popping when he's screaming. We got veins popping on the forehead, wrinkles coming in to proper play. So ZBrush became not only a modeling addition to our pipeline, but it was hidden texture and animation as well. That's what we were on during Gears of War 2. Let's talk about boss monsters. ZBrush allowed us to go even bigger for our boss fights. This is the Leviathan concept done by Chris Burnham over at Epic. And just to show you kind of scale and like the supremacy of this guy, you'd be on a barge in the caverns, and this huge Leviathan fish would come up out of the water every now and then you see the tentacles come out. These things would actually come down and tackle your boat and try to drown it. And then eventually it would take hold with the front end of your boat, the barge, to where you're fighting within the cavity of the mouth. You find these tentacles in the inner mouth. So this is all fleshed out and maxed, but all the beauty came into it from ZBrush. If we had to redo this today, 100% of that would have been done in ZBrush. Just close-up shot of that mouth. Close-up shot of those tentacles that were coming down the barge. Here's a work in progress shot of the Leviathan as a whole. We used a lot of HD geometry back then on this guy since he was so big. And then one last boss fight that we did was the ending of Gears of War 2. This is the Lambent group map, concept art by James Hawkins. And the backstory on this creature was it started out as the original green map right here, got infected by Lambent, started infesting and mutating into what you see over there on the far right. And then the boss fight would be your helicopter flying around all this monster, and you have to fight the tentacles and all that. And there he is, all posed up in ZBrush. Just to give you a sense of scale of this guy, you can see Marcus Phoenix on the bottom right, standing on the rock. Moving forward to Gears of War 3, we streamlined our asset creation down to about a month with just utilizing the new features that ZBrush always comes out with, and just streamlining our own pipeline as well. Here's a turntable of Chris Wells' model of Anya. And just about every aspect of these characters moving forward have been put by ZBrush. There's Marcus Phoenix, Gears of War 3, Coltrane. There's Dominic, Barry, and lastly Jace. This one is done by Mike Kahn. This is Savage Drone. We wanted to show you this guy because he banged this thing out in like 2 weeks. Just the amount of detail he was able to cram in that amount of time was definitely due to the applications like ZBrush. We're also starting to use ZBrush on our posing for our box art covers, for our magazine covers, etc. There's a couple other poses done by Chris Wells. And not only that, but we're actually using ZBrush for our collector edition statues now. So pretty much everything's going through ZBrush nowadays. It seems to be the trend. Here's a high quality render of within ZBrush of Marcus Phoenix, all posed up. And just show you the close-up of the amount of detail we put in this, and it actually was extracted into the print of the statue here. See everything pretty much crawled up. This is done by Triforce Studios. They actually built a life-size bust of Marcus as well. So this thing traveled E3 and we were promoting the game. All the skin, silicone, has hair plugs in there, etc. This is all rebuilt, but it was actually brought out of ZBrush and resculpted. And now he resides in our lobby at the headquarters. So as we see, ZBrush is hitting modeling, texturing, animation, but it's also hitting our merchandising and marketing as well. Just one more example of how we use ZBrush on some of our demos was our 2011 release of our Samaritan demo. ZBrush was utilized in modeling this character, Owen, texturing this character, Owen, as well as numerous morphs and animation aids I'm about to show you. This is the densing effect of Owen, done by Jordan Walker. All this was done in ZBrush. Here it is, still of that. As well as this punch, we had a face punch scene. We were running close and tight on time, so what I did was I took the face, I modeled about four morphs in it of the fist actually hitting the cheek. Then we kicked that off to the animators to play with. And here that is in real time as well. I know in Epic we like our gore, so obviously we had some gore on there. This is the back of the head, the trooper headshot. That was all done in ZBrush. So moving forward to some of our more current projects with Fortnite, what we're seeing ZBrush become a major player in World War III production, as I was mentioning in some of the earlier talks today. We're seeing ZBrush go back and forth to 2D and 3D quite a bit nowadays. This is the early concept of where Fortnite was originally going. It's far from it now, but what we did was we had a 2D concept done by James Hawkins, and quickly just stuck in this quick proto mesh just to get something in the game or in 3D. Our director wanted to shift the styles on the fly, so we just took that head and just modified this in about a day, and hand that out to the concept artist to kick off some of these. So as you see, we're going back and forth with 2D artists, 3D artists quite a bit nowadays, utilizing ZBrush. Here's another example where, and then Ben Schaefer actually hit the final style for this game, and so we took that last model I showed you and modified that to hit that in about a week. Here's a close-up of the husk. And these characters were banged out about 2 weeks, so just the level, it all depends on the scale of the characters and the amount of detail on the characters. This is right about when Dynamesh came out, so that obviously sped us up quite a bit as well. And as well as clay polish. Play a huge factor in the styling of these characters. So now we're seeing ZBrush hit pretty much every single department across the board at Epic, except for HR and legal. But besides that, it's pretty much everywhere. Just want to go in and talk to you about our most recent project. This is our Unreal Engine 4 Infiltrator demo. Talk about the pre-production of this guy. This is the early concept by James Hawkins, just to get something kicking. We built a couple program meshes for this in ZBrush fairly quickly. And what we do with this is we actually decimate it, unwrap it in ZBrush, and then bring it back into Max and hand it off to the riggers to give them game. We'd also go back and forth and give the concept artists breakout shots to deck out detail for us and to help them alongside with working with the final concept. It's done by James Hawkins as well. Here's a close-up shot of the helmet. This helmet was one of the first meshes that we started playing with more of hard surface elements within ZBrush. We used quite a few assets on that upper panel to boolean out. To achieve something like that. And this is something we're still playing with quite a bit. We're seeing ZBrush become more and more of a factor in the hard surface than obviously. Here's a couple of high-res versions of the final soldier. And there he is in game in Unreal Engine 4. So just a quick recap of how ZBrush has influenced us in our pipeline. What used to take us 3 months to build has now taken us down to a month or less utilizing ZBrush. Where ZBrush used to be just a modeling program, we're seeing it hit all aspects of our pipelines at Epic. And so moving forward with R6, it's only going to be more, right? So with that, I'd like to lead into Mike Kimes' talk.